We,
Thank you.
we are now.
All right, I'll say that again then.
Yes.
Thank you, Christina, for inviting me to share with you all the relationship that I have to knowing and creating in the context of our environment, which is kind of where I go with it, and also our cosmology. So the big question, how do we know? And then just by way of introduction, I have kind of multiple threads. Actually, I'm used to saying two, but I realize after doing this presentation, it's more than two. So I'm a singer and a songwriter and a sound healer, and I do a lot of singing at Grace Cathedral, which is where I am in that picture, and that's tremendous. Wonderful feedback loops there from that environment. And just sound healing work in general is where I went. So it's called sound alchemy because there is something transformative about the work itself. So that's kind of a new um, transition, I guess, calling it sound alchemy and then sound healing within the context of sound alchemy. And then the other thread is this beautiful image is by Susie von Ajke. She's Swedish. Is my work with dynamic emergence, where people have the opportunity to look at go through courses asynchronously. They get to see my big smiley face in every single video where I'm talking about energy. I have a metaphysical background, I have a healing background and an artist background, but I'm also an academic and I love understanding how things work. So I come from a family of engineers, and so for me it's really interesting to name the interactive process of life and how that has a relationship to knowing and to belonging. So, because this is about this theme at the moment that Christine has set and Michelle is about belief systems, I'm just throwing out these two questions. If how we know affects how we see, and then how do we actually evaluate what we're perceiving for its truth and accuracy? So, in other words, how do we really know the value of what we know, as opposed to how do we know if we're right? Because how long are you right for anyway, if you are right? And in a system, how can you be right? Because you're in a system. So, it's tricky. And then what does it mean to sink into that system, to have your body, your soul be of that system and to be able to ask it questions and create from there. So from a systemic connections and belonging perspective, what am I? Am I this beautiful tree? Am I you? Am I the ocean, the wind? Am I my thoughts? Am I your thoughts? Um, our collective longing, like how do we identify our connection to each other, and what do we do with that identification in the way we behave in the world, in the way we generate? I've reduced this. I can see John's on the call, so he might laugh at this because he's like, "That is so much text," and it was so much text. So I've tried to reduce it to the essentials. Donella Matthews, if you're here, you probably know who she is. She's a wonderful systems thinker, and you can screenshot this. You're very welcome to. But the thing that struck me about this, because all her work is very technical, is just the very last one, really. If I had to choose one, living successfully in a world of systems requires so much more than just our ability to be rational and to calculate things and analyze patterns in a very cold sort of way. But it's more about feeling our way into the world in forms of relationships. That's probably how I would put it. So for me, I listen in order to know, and I only really care about knowing because I want to have a relationship with something. And my celebration of that relationship, as well as my exploration of that relationship, is creating. And weirdly, I'm 56, full disclosure, and I did not realize that I was creative until I was in my early 20s, and I was living in the UK, very frustrated with just being a human in general. Couldn't understand why I couldn't feel like a sense of belonging. I felt like I belonged when I was in the forest or, on the stony beach in Suffolk. Various places of nature, my mind would get quieter. But otherwise, socially, I just always felt really awkward. And everything that everyone else seemed to want, I couldn't understand why they wanted it, which was a bit awkward, you know, if you're trying to have conversations in a pub. And all I really wanted to talk about was things you don't really bother talking about because you're feeling them, like the wind or the waves. So I came to California, and that's where I kind of understood a lot more about what was going on. This part is like my most technical part, so I'm going to not be super long on this because I think what we create is actually more interesting. But I have decided that for me, the truth is that there are various ways of knowing, and those influence our ways of being. And if I was allowed to say, here's what the problem is with the world, I would say this. I would say that we are obsessed with this rational. It's kind of like we went into the first shop in a row of shops, and there was all this shiny stuff called rational knowing. And we got so enamored with it, we forgot to leave the shop and go to all these other shops where all this other stuff is. You know, the Harry Potter shops, the embodiment shops, the empathic shops. And I feel that we've cost ourselves so far a lot of connections. So to me, to identify and name, guess what, folks? If you're not noticing, there are these other ways of knowing, and they're all equal. You know, they all have a way of serving the collective. They collaborate. And as you know, in any collaboration, you kind of fall to the side if you don't have all the members of the team. And one of the things I'm learning at the moment is how much fun it is to work with teams. And we'll come to that in a minute. But there's this basic element of our ability to think and our ability to be empathic, feel each other, and to have a body that can feel the energy of earth, the energy of other people's moods, the energy of a room, so that we can sense our way through situations. These are all essential components for being part of a system, a network of belonging. And there's language that comes with that, of course, which we use every day. You know, I think, I feel, I sense. And then in the center of that is this sort of genius, which is you or I, who is making sense of that, who's deciding, what do I want this to mean right now? And how can I generate something of benefit to others? That's the goal, right? Is to be of benefit, to be of service. So we experience our emotions, we experience our thinking, and we experience our body's sensations. And the question is, do we know we're experiencing that? And if we can be honest about what we're experiencing, can we filter it through, clear it, clean it, so that we can actually become really positive, vibrant members of society that have a relationship to the planet and to the numinous and to other ways of knowing and being? I'm not going to talk tons about this, but this is a context because you've seen this part, the middle part. I just want you to know it has a home. And that home is this extending outwards relationship, which at the same time is extending inwards. So it's multi-directional. But there's this interior self that's occurring all the time, having feelings and experiences, trying to make sense of them. And then there's this transactional zone where the I meets you, the polite zone, you might say, where we interact, maybe go shopping or order a meal. So we're not having deep, deep, deep conversations, but we're having an interaction. We're affecting each other. And then the further out you go, then that sits inside our collective consciousness. So anything that's happening inside here, seen or unseen, said or unsaid, felt and not noticed, doesn't matter. It exists. And as long as it's existing, it's affecting our creative potential as a species. And that in turn is affecting the regenerative potential of the planet. So none of this exists if we don't have a planet. So the planet is primary, and the planet needs a home too. So the planet's home here is the cosmos. So everything birthed everything else. And then there's this incredible interactive, communicative, relational process going on non-stop, literally non-stop. So now we go on to my work. And the question is, what am I creating right now? And this actually almost doubled in the last 20 minutes, because as I mentioned, I was talking with John last night, John Connors, who's got RegeNFT, which I'm going to mention. You know, he pointed out a few things that were missing, and then I woke up and realized even more things, like substantial things that were missing. So it's so funny when you're inside something, how easy it is to forget that it exists because you're kind of floating inside this experience. So I'm just going to name them, and then I'm going to give you little experiences of them. I'm working on a book with a team, a spectacular team of people, to kind of bring dynamic emergence into life, into a meaningful storying kind of way, to kind of evoke illicit imagination and activation in humans. I'm also working on I'm in post-production on a CD called Singing the World to Peace. So if none of you have ever heard me sing, when I sing, I'm just going to be really blunt and own this. I change the consciousness of a room, and it's not me, Claire, the personality, doing that. It's the voice, and the voice is connected to that sensory knowing. It's connected to the earth. It's connected to the beauty. It's connected to the longing and the pain of being human, and especially being a lost human, right? Not understanding that we have a family here in all the other species, whether they're flora, fauna, elemental, doesn't really matter. Like this planet is ridiculously teeming with so much beauty and life, and I feel a bit sad that humans don't always get that. So Singing the World's Peace is the CD that I hope, when I'm not around to sing to people, that might be able to do some similar work in terms of touching us in ways that we don't necessarily get to name cognitively, because who cares? You know, if you can't name something, it doesn't mean anything, because you still have your sensory knowing and your empathy, so you can still have an experience. The rational is really there just to articulate things and make databases in a way, you know, and to help us organize. Then there's a virtual reality project which I'm doing with Brooke Einbender, and like I said, you're going to have a little excerpt of some of these. I think all of them actually. Energy balls will make sense when you see them. There's another spoken word project which I'm doing again with Brooke Einbender, and all of these, or most of these, are actually feeding into this RegeNFT process that's occurring right now, which you're invited to. And then Gentry Stanley, who just joined the call, is doing a documentary on me with regards to the sound healing work. But we're actually doing a lot more than that too. It's a very comprehensive, rich experience of sort of becoming together actually into creative outputs that we anticipate, hope, and pray, if you will, can have an impact. This is one of the excerpts from the documentary. So I'm just going to play you like a couple of minutes of it. So Gentry and I drove to, it's called the General Sherman Tree. It does have its own name, but socially, this is the tree it's known as, and I think it's in the Sierras. So let me see. Oops. Oh, I have to actually go out of presentation mode. There we go. So, hang on.
Claire, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. How about sharing the sound from your computer instead of
I
sharing?
think I am doing that. Hang on a sec. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know where the screen's gone. Right. Okay, there we go. So let me figure that out. So I share the screen again. I think
And
I'll
then,
just share it this way rather than going full screen. Can you see that?
yeah, we can
Okay.
see it. So when you share the screen in the bottom left-hand corner, you should be able to select share
Which I did
sound.
do. So it is selected.
So we don't hear from your speakers. Okay.
Right. So that's already happened. So let's, how is this?
Better.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go forward a bit. So I'm just going to switch back to the slideshow. That's probably about 20 minutes long, and it's a rough cut. Gentry filmed all of that on his own. We got up at like 4 a.m. in the morning, so very committed. So I'm going to go back now to sharing the other. There we go. So it's actually going to be easier for a moment to just stay here because of the switching around. So another thing that I do to explore and express my understanding of what it is to be alive, like what am I? What am I expressing? What am I connected to? Who am I? Who is the I that is expressing? What am I representative of? And I feel like for me, the answer to that is that I'm everything. And that's, I don't even know what that means, but I can't separate myself from anything that's alive. I don't see how that's possible. I share the same molecules, the same air, the same everything, because we're in and of the same planet. So I went to Scotland a couple of years ago, just before COVID hit. So I was up there for like 2.5 months. Then COVID happened. So then I stayed up there another 3. And I wandered the mountains, the lochs, and the forests, and the cliffs, and filmed everything, recorded everything, and did this piece, which I'm just going to play you a little bit of. Hang on. And let me know if for some reason it's not working again.
Waiters always look at me and think that I'm going to have a little.
Don't really need to hear that.
My actual.
am the mountain. I am the mountain, and you are the breeze. I am the whole forest, and you are the trees. I see you running all around me, trying to get in. I feel your fingers on my body, but you cannot enter it. Each of these, of course, is a whole journey. I don't really make short pieces. It seems that I have sort of an average length of a piece I make, if it's got movement and sound, is about 10 to 15 minutes. That piece is so much about the connection to the elements, earth and the elements, and the mystery of that beautiful relationship, those dynamics of presencing ourselves with and through the earth. We're so lucky. We're so lucky that we get to do that. We just, I went to Christina's place the other day with Gentry and in Inverness, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. And, to have access like you do there, Christina, to the seaweed and the water and the sort of, that boat that's on its side, rotting beautifully, it's amazing. So I'm just going to show you the VR piece. So I'm doing this CD, Singing the World to Peace. There was a fundraiser for it. I'm probably going to reactivate it because it's an inspiration for the work that I'm doing with Gentry. And it's for world peace. So it's focused on humans. But funnily enough, I got to meet Brooke Einbender. And let's find this. She does virtual reality. She does physical paintings, extraordinary, geometric, stunning, vibrant, alive paintings. She's based in Telluride in, I can't remember if that's in Colorado. I think it is. And so she's put some VR stuff to my 3 pieces. There are 4 pieces, and they're, like I said, they're all quite long. And again, I'm gonna have to change the way I'm sharing. Hang on. I think I'll just show you my messy laptop. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do it this way. It's very hard to interrupt sharing these pieces with you, but it is what it is. So then I'll go a little bigger with this. The other thing I'm doing is working with this team, and I'm going to show you a picture of them in a second so you can meet everybody. A book. So those more technical images that I showed you earlier on, I think of them as technical, but I guess a scientist might not. But I wanted something that had a more visceral kind of impact, so that when you looked at it, it kind of had a transformational, transmutational experience. I wanted the organic nature of life to be able to speak through the lens of dynamic emergence as a way to capture people who perhaps maybe have trouble accessing their imaginations, as a way to have a relationship with planetary consciousness or cosmological, their own cosmological consciousness. So I'm blown away by her talent and her sensitivity to the subject. And then we worked with another artist. Let's make this smaller again. Charlene, and I'll name the names at the end. Who added? She did all the design layout. So this is about our creative energy. It's about appreciating that our creative energy isn't just some kind of thing you play with here and there because you can. It's an impulse. It's a cosmological imperative to create. And if we're not doing it, that energy does something weird inside of us. And I think I would like to make an argument that it's what makes people mean. That impulse for generosity that I think creativity is all about is the network, the tentacles, the mycelia, the kind of natural impulse to reach and touch, affect, and inspire other people to say, hi, God, you're here too, in the cosmos. Like, how did that happen? So that kind of motivates me. When I sing, in a way, I speak to our longing, to longing for belonging, but then there are other ways where I just celebrate the belonging. So here, as you can see, it says our creative energy is exactly the same as that of the universe because it's of the universe. It's impossible for us not to be connected. And the sadness is when we forget, lose touch with that. If you were religious, you might say God, where I'm saying consciousness, universe, planet, each other. And this is another one of the images, Charlene Sakira. And she's in GRC. She's also in Design Collaborators. So each time we create, we are saying yes to the universe. Each time, each and every time we create, we are saying yes to the universe, yes to belonging, yes to each and every star in the night sky, and yes to each droplet in the ocean. We own nothing. We receive everything. And then we create. The last piece that I'm going to share with you is just at this point is a sound piece, and there's a poem to it. And again, I'm just going to share a couple of minutes because I know that this is also a chance for us to interact. But there's just so much to present, so I appreciate you bearing with me on the amount of content there is to share here. All the VR work that you see is Brooke Einbender. That's her website. So I will now magically go here. Now, I also would love you to appreciate the quality of the sound design. I'm not talking about the bits that I did. There's a guy called Jay Rome who I met through RegeNFT, and he's just phenomenal, you know, in creating a spatial experience so that you're actually walking through the touch of sound. Sound placement is all about touching, how it touches us. And this is actually a video, but you're not going to see the video right now. But I'd like you to hear part of this cosmological belonging that that will be a 4.5 minute piece. And this is actually going to be auctioned as an NFT. And when we start chatting, if John's still here, or Gentry, they can also talk a lot about this.
time, spatial time, magical time. Are you ready to birth new realities?
So that's the short form. You can have links, you know, all of this is very accessible. This is the documentary that I'm working on. That's Gentry. There he is again. That's Patrick who came to help. We sailed to Angel Island. That's me doing a blessing, a land blessing, asking permission to do work there, to do a sound healing there. You always have to ask and offer. So you ask for protection and you offer water to generate healing. And then this is at Grace Cathedral. So basically kind of popping all over the place, capturing stuff. Gentry's doing so much of this on his own. It's a tremendous amount of work. And I'm very, I was going to say blessed, but I know he's not fond of that word. But I am. I do feel blessed. I feel lucky doesn't really capture it. Blessed somehow brings in something more cosmological. And then the lastly, energy balls. These popped in, I don't know, maybe a month ago. I just started painting them, and I'm madly in love with them. There's something so sweet about them, and I don't mean sweet in that condescending way. I mean something sweet, like a quality of presence, just like the universe saying hi, nice to see you. And it's just another way that they come through. So this, in terms of belief systems and knowing, this is just another way of listening. The energy of creativity will express itself however, whether, you know, there's a million ways it can express itself. And this is just one of a million. And then the very last thing is this. And this is very important. John Connors and Gentry Stanley and Samu, and I don't know Sam's last name, but they'll tell us, have put in motion a RegeNFT Art Auction. And what it's doing is not only giving a place for artists. This is another artist, Salma, that I brought on board. That's her in her studio. And this is my team, by the way. That's Gentry, John, Charlene, and Susie, illustrator, design, layout, business finance man, producer, and me. And they're creating a platform where artists can actually finally have a voice, a bigger voice, not just an equal voice, but actually a bigger voice through the generation of art that has value and meaning to each of us, then going out into the world through an auction with just amazing opportunities for effectively sponsorship, ownership as sponsorship. The auction is in late July, and I'm going to actually basically get John to talk about that a little bit, or Gentry. But if you're an artist, this is something you can apply to. It's very simple. There's no fee, nothing like that, nothing that gets like interferes with the ability to connect. But it is about connection. It's about social impact, environmental action. It's about getting financed as well for your own projects. So that is it. I think I've stopped sharing the screen. So did that work? Did you actually see everything that I shared?
Yes. Thank you. Would you like to pass it to John or Gentry? Or
yeah, John or Gentry, could you share, please, about how people could get involved, whether they're investors or artists or people that could connect us to others?
G, you mind if I grab this? All right, I guess you may not be there. Yeah, thank you very much, Claire. Really wonderful to see your work and your cosmological perspective to existence. Yeah, RegeNFT is the world's first regenerative crypto art incubator exhibition and auction, and we're getting people together to capitalize, to really to ride this upward wave of NFT, crypto art. But ultimately, crypto art, the NFT part is really just a token of ownership in a blockchain wallet. That really isn't it. This is an artist-driven movement, and each one of the participants or creator teams are giving away 25% of their revenue from the art sale to alleviating homelessness, restoring the planet, decarceration or getting people out of prison for victimless crimes, and COVID-19 relief. So we've got at least 120 people in our incubator right now, and about maybe close to a dozen artists who've uploaded artwork already. And we're going to be going to a festival where a lot of crypto wealthy hang out called Ephemerile at the end of the month, and with a select drop of NFT artwork. And then we have a high profile space in San Francisco. We're solidifying hopefully today for early August, maybe late July, in-person studio event. So you're invited to hit apply now, and reach out to me, John at RegeNFT. I'll put it in the chat if you want to learn more. We're really inspired to have. And the other piece that makes us unique is artists are the ones in charge of the distribution of social impact capital. We want the people with creative minds distributing the money, not the people with the left brains and asking for a track record as we try to do things we've never done before. So we want the artists at front and center with creating artwork that transforms consciousness, as well as at front and center when it comes down to the distribution of capital. So that's it.
Fantastic. And yeah, so John, if you put your contact info, people are asking for it in the chat. I put the URL, but I'm also aware that there are people that would like to share something. And
Can I just ask a question before
Yeah.
we move on? Yeah, John, is this John Connors?
yes,
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, Hannah Apricot. Good to
Hannah,
connect
good
with you
to
again.
connect.
Hey,
Hey, what's up?
Hey. Hey, have you reached out to the Buckminster Fuller Institute and the Design Science Studio?
I haven't reached out. I mean, BFI, we're
Okay.
using the Hack for Earth method, which was developed and designed alongside BFI for the first Hack for Earth. But we haven't connected with them in the Design Science Studio for the RegeNFT at all.
Yeah, because I was just part of the first cohort. There was 140 artists from around the world. I know there was a lot of talk about NFTs. And so I know a lot of people there would be very interested. So yeah, you
Thank
should
you.
definitely connect. Either Amanda and then also oh God, his name's escaping me, but there's some other direct people I could connect you with.
That'd be
are
really great,
really
Hannah.
into it.
Thank you so much. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, let's be in touch.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And I'd love to talk to you about how, as a environmental organization helping support regenerative projects around the world, how can we maybe help tap in from that piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, I won't get into it here. There's a lot of information warfare in the environmental space that's against cryptocurrencies, but it's I think rooted in dishonesty and not rooted in nuanced understanding of the technology. And I think, as you know, I've been founder of Blockchain for Ecology since 2017. So we're able to kind of disable, and we don't have environmentalism as the only thing we're doing here. We have it as one of 4 verticals for social impact, as a way to kind of mute some of the extreme voices in the movement and allow us to prove that we can make actual impact with this technology, and to allow a proof of concept to arise from that knowing.
Yeah, excellent. Good. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for your work. And Claire, thank you. And Claire, that was just so amazing. I was just so moved by all your work, and it's just really outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing today.
well, you're welcome. Thank you. So I know other people wanted to share reactions. I'd love to hear.
I would love to. Hi, hello everyone. I'm Brazilian. I may not so easy for me to express everything what I feel in English, but yes, your presentation was a balm for my soul. It's your way to see the art, the expression and meaningfulness was very strong for me. So thank you for that. And I'm very interested maybe for your presentation, your slides. If I can have some link to look at, and even for this record of this meeting, it's because, and now I want to share something about my what I'm doing right now. And we have some funds. I believe, I don't know if it's the same source, but it's from Design Studio also, but through the SEEDS movement. And here in Brazil, we are creating our bioregion. So we are making a lot of contacts and funds. And actually tomorrow we will have a meeting to how to create contents that have this regenerative meaning, and because we are already having this flow of resources. So it's amazing. And I'm being in this side that I'm very enthusiastic about, and with a lot of friends that do a lot of amazing arts. And yeah, seeing this connection is very, very strong, and having this contact with regenerative NFT and others. So yeah, I believe that I am in this side that I'm having contacts with how to express this. And when I was hearing, I have this insight, like NFT put us in the position to figure out why to make art, and rather than making art for a reason. And but I don't know if it's what's capturing, but it's tools that really allows us to make it to it in a true way. So I'm very enthusiastic about that. And also in the site seats we have this movement. Sorry, I will read. That's Renaissance Explorers, and there we are also with funds to create contents about the Renaissance regenerative movement. So it's very beautiful to be. I want links to, because I want to connect this. I want to show your presentation there for them, create inspiration also, and how to do it. And yeah, we need to have some of the links from presentation.
I will. I appreciate everything you're saying, and especially because you're saying it in not necessarily your first language. So if I had to try and do this in French, which was my second language, it wouldn't be nearly as eloquent, I can tell you that. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, and any questions or follow up for anybody that wants to know more or connect more. I honestly, all the stuff I'm doing through, because of RegeNFT, literally, I've met so many beautiful people, and GRC as a community actually led to me bumping into John again. So I have so much gratitude for how much more I get to feel, sense, and experience because of the collaboration with other humans who are also connecting both to the elemental earth as well as to the cosmological sense of being. So, we do this together. We become together.
And Joao, maybe you could put some of the links that you were talking about in the chat as well for people to have. I'm recording this. I'll put it up on the GRC Regenerative Narratives channel as soon as I can do the whatever to it. And I usually put a little summary of each week's call there as well to connect the various people who were on the call. So that'll be a resource as well. But yeah, definitely connections get made here, follow-up happens, run with it. And if anybody has any further questions, I think we've got about 15 minutes. We can continue to chat about, gosh, consciousness, sound, the universe, creativity.
Yeah.
Energy balls.
Claire, first of all, thank you so much. This is what I needed. I'd mentioned before everybody joined how I was in this space of knowing but not being able to express what was happening. and you reminded me, one of the things that I used to do, or I still do, is like I call it toning. Basically, I have a Indian stringed instrument, like I have a digital one, and I just sit in the woods and I tone without using words. And yeah, thank you for reminding. Like it's been about a month or two that I've not done, and thank you for reminding that I had that in my pocket that I wasn't using because I was in this chaos and I forgot. Like, you know how you are
It's
in.
so easy to forget. It's so easy to forget.
Yeah, and I've been staying in my head and trying to use patterns. And I was mentioning, Christina, like I was looking at sacred geometry and all of that to find expression, and I forgot that I had sound. That the aspect of my being is to vibrate at that sound level with the cosmos. I completely forgot about that, and I'm so happy you reminded me of that and took me through the teaser of that journey. Now I'm a little more curious as to how my being wants to express itself. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to say two things to you, Joe. One is that when you go and sing in the forest, they love that. They love that. So it's such a gift, you know, it's like it's for them as much as it's for you. So they get a lot out of it. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that you're reminding me that about geometry, sacred geometry, harmonic structures, like the way music and the cosmos is designed is so extraordinary.
Oh, I
So
know.
even when we sing, if you just sing a single note, which I love to do,
Me
you're
too.
actually singing all, this is going to sound a bit technical, but you're singing all these partials, which
Mhm.
are part of the sacred geometric design of the universe. So no wonder we feel good because we're kind of singing ourselves home.
Yep.
So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that.
Yeah, and the other thing, it's not just the forest that love, the birds and all the other beings. They just
Absolutely.
talk around you, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. I
Yeah. No, to me, the forest is all of it. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally with you on that, Joe.
true. Oh, and Claire, the mention of like one note. I have a harmonium. You know what that is? It's an
Yeah, yeah.
Indian instrument. It's a half piano, and it's very easy.
Related.
That's the portable. I have one sitting right here, but it's very easy to tone to that
Yeah.
and get lost in it. And I saw that your background when you were starting off, that was a single note as well, that you were grounding yourself in, as if like this is the language. English language is such a limitation, and I come across every day, right? We are so limited by the words we use. But as you were grounding, like it just I could. And then thanks for playing. Thanks for playing with all those notes from that ground forward. I just loved it. I cannot express how much I connected. Thank you.
I'm very moved to hear that. Thank you.
For those of us who don't feel particularly musical or talented in that realm, how do you suggest? What are some ways to start or access it? What do you suggest?
Our creativity, you mean, or our sense of connection?
No, the sound as a vehicle, actually.
That's actually really simple. So thank you for asking. If anyone here wants to experiment with that, really what I do is I use the vowel sort of shapes, like oh, and I remind myself that I'm not performing. So it's not about pitch accuracy. It's not even about how long do you sing a note, because I can sing them quite long. So I always want to tell people that that's just because I do it a lot. you know, it doesn't mean anything. I don't get a prize for that, and you don't miss out on a prize if your breath is shorter than mine. There are other things, you know, but you can just focus, like just become aware. So remember those balls, like rational, emotional, sensory, and the sensory is green. So imagine that green ball. Imagine your body, even though you're in it, closing your eyes and imagining that. You can actually just generate a single note, any note, absolutely irrelevant. What is that note? Irrelevant, doesn't matter. But if you remember the old-fashioned radios that you used to kind of, you can actually do that as a way to find a note that feels good to your body in that moment, and just be with that note for a while. 10 seconds, a minute, doesn't matter. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is the seeking to connect. And as we seek to connect, something about, like, dynamic emergence has two tenets. The first is that nothing is fixed. The second is that energy waits to be noticed. That includes our energy. So if we're feeling sad or agitated or excited, we can find sounds that will match and generate and express that energy. And that actually allows it to then transform into something even more useful and usable and releasing. So I hope that helps a little bit. Experiment. That's the point. Just experiment without the idea that there's a right way of doing it. There is a right way of doing it for your body in that moment, but that has no measurement outside of your own experience for evaluation. Does that make sense?
Christina, oh, thank you, Claire. Christina, I was going to say I'm not musically talented at all, but I would want to say that if we start on a pitch, if you pitch up to it, like you just vibrate with it. Like I do ohms most of the time.
Yeah, classic, right?
Yeah, it's classic, and you can do or whatever. Like I have this app. It's an Indian app. It sounds like this. Do you all hear it?
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that's it. And you continue, and yeah, as Claire was saying,
yeah,
it's not about the breath anymore, right? Like breath is a loop. You come back, you take a breath, and then you come back into it, and the longer you do it, full belly practices, whatever, however your the idea is to be able to let that sound flow through you as if you are connected to that sound.
exactly.
And the reason I do it in the woods is it's inspired energy. Like the energy is completely different. It's openness. I can do with loud mouth. Like I don't have to worry about my neighbors. Like I'm not worried. Like I'll go high pitched, and they have been trained to listen to me now. But in the woods, it's so open. You can just feel your whole body, and if you put your spine erect and open yourself up, that experience is different. But it's all about embodying the sound and and pitching. Like most of it is pitching, and how kids, when they start learning about learning the language, how they don't know what they're saying, but they are saying something. Like I step into that, and it's not about being understood, it's about understanding.
Yes. So, and which brings us back to beliefs and knowing. So understanding is an embodied experience of knowing. And sound is really helpful for that. And you can start by even just humming. Like if you hum, you'll notice kind of a vibration happening in your sinuses. And if you just focus on that alone, only that, it's a meditation. And that brings you back here. And it helps calm the mind, which tries so hard to fix things. Mine does anyway, you know, and it can't because I can't do anything on my own. I'm part of an interdependent, intradependent system, universe. Jeff, I have a feeling you might be wanting to say something. Are you? Because you've been unmuting and muting, and I'm curious.
Oh, no. Thank you, Claire. I just wanted to listen into this call. I arrived very late because of my morning routines, and I just wanted to hear a little bit about your work. And I'm glad I popped in because the RegeNFT thing really interests me. So I'm just sort of listening to this in the background, but sorry if I'm being distracting or anything.
No, no, not at all.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with the areas in which you have described some of your work. So I just wanted to see what others are doing.
So what are you focused on when you do that? What's your form of expression?
I run a school for leaders, teaching them creativity and phenomenology, and what I call, or what is called social sculpture, but it's not very well known.
Joseph Beuys.
Yeah, it's Beuys's work. So we've created a school about social sculpture. And part of training leaders to think in these three spheres of culture, governance, and money is understanding the phenomena in culture, but from a first person point of view. How did they make meaning? How did they experience things? And so we get down to the brass tacks and the experiences that you've been describing of immersing yourself in sound or in texture or in perception or in the phenomena of consciousness. That's sort of at the beating heart of, these questions of, well, what is a human being? What is this experience? How do we bring forward and articulate, to Joe's point earlier, to her question, how do we find the language to articulate what we're experiencing as an inner being? And so, and how do we think about that at all scales? Since we're all inner beings, how does this inner aspect of humanity play out in these fractals? And so that's what we study and contemplate and work on at the school for these change leaders who are enrolled. So my work is somewhat directly related to these phenomena and the questions of becoming creative. I'm also a painter and a visual artist, and I've just started my own NFT project called the Apocalypse Art Club. So that was a nice little tie-in to this morning's call. Yeah, that's a bit about me. Thanks for asking.
Thank you for sharing.
Tell us about the Apocalypse Art Club.
Well, the Apocalypse Art Club was something I did many, many years ago when I was a kid. And I put it down for a long time so I could make some decent money because I had to have a family and became a consultant and all that. But lately, I continued to make work in those decades. And then I just accumulated all these paintings, like dozens of paintings and thousands of drawings. And I'd never sold them, never showed them, never done anything with them, just kept making while I worked at a company. I co-founded a little company called Rios Partners, and then started a branch offshoot of that called Magenta Studios. And I was just busy, but then NFTs came along and I was like, whoa, I can actually share all this artwork with the world. So I put together a little team and we've minted the NFTs, and basically we're designing the project so that when people buy an NFT, they enter a club, they enter this art club, and they have membership and they have access to certain things, and we can have dialogue together about the work, about the ideas, a lot of the ideas that we're talking about here, because those are the ideas that I care about what it means to be a human being, and to try to find the fullness of our own humanity and that of others whom we know and whom we serve, and really coming to terms with kind of being here now at this time on the planet, but staying really practical and really grounded and really a little bit fierce about our principles and our ideals. And so the work, the artwork, the dialogue is really about shining bright in dark times. And to be honest, we've just started like last week, but we got a little website, we've minted the NFTs, we've selected a first group of works to mint. I animated 2 of the paintings with sound and everything, but we haven't done any marketing or publicity to get the word out there yet. So that's just getting started. I guess one more thing is we're designing it that the assets will accumulate in value. So if someone buys in now, ideally, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we want to be at Sotheby's, and anything that people have bought previously will be worth more. So it's like an investment into their mind, into their soul, and into their economic future. So we try to tie all these things together to make it attractive and appealing and fun.
Are you connecting, Jeff, to the Regen NFT?
Yeah, I just chatted with John.
Excellent.
I was like, I just started my NFT project. I need to talk to you. This is
I'm
cool.
so glad. So
yeah.
glad.
So
Yeah, because there's
little...
so much energy around this, and it's really positive.
That's fantastic. It's great to hear. For me, I was just talking to my wife this morning, like, okay, now we got to figure out how to market these NFTs. So we're, we're just getting into this space, but it's great to meet other artists who, we started the Apocalypse Art Club, not just around my work, but we hope to meet other artists who are dedicating their lives to these questions, and that's in their work. Like, what does it mean to be here now? What are we doing? What can we do? And what's needed of us in terms of our own transformation and learning to step up and serve in these dramatic times.
Jeff,
if it's sorry, if I could just is it Melk or Melke?
Yes, Melky.
Melky, thank you. If it's possible, I know we have very little time. I would so love to hear your and Richard's voice, just to hear the texture of you.
Thank you so much for this space and for this asking. So my name is Melky. I was invited by João. We were talking behind here before I come in, and then he just sent the link for the Zoom, and I came in and jumped in. I'm from the regenerative initiatives also. We work together, João, on this search and all of this. And then I just joined and then start to flow with the I will call it the team, because it was a team working together, a lot of beings, and my crown chakra open up as soon as I came in, because I have this sensibility to feel my energy, and then my crown chakra open up, my heart also, and then I just hang out, like listen to the music, and all your presentation was fantastic. It was something that I was not expecting, but then it happened. And as I always say, it's all synchronicity. So I'm not here because I felt here. No, everything was arranged to be here, to be in this egregor, all these things that is happening now. And I'm very thankful, grateful for your presentation. It was fantastic. I was from the middle on, or maybe after the middle on, but I could feel it was for me fantastic. That's why I'm still here, just to be surrounded by the energy and all of this. So thank you so much for asking. And I'm a yogi, as I used to say. I'm a student of a school of yogis that was founded by a Philippine master called Master Choa Kok Sui. And I do meditations, I guide meditations, I do healing, I do coaching, spiritual coaching, and all this surrounding the spirituality, let's say like that. And I was really blessed to be here with you today for me, because I'm in Canada, so it's 1:10 afternoon. So this is my time here now. I don't know where all the guys here are, but I'm in Canada, in the east side, the Atlantic side. So thank you for letting me leave some words here for you, and I appreciate all your work. Thank you, and all the ones that shared also. I was very glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I share something for me? And I was thinking about here where I live. I met so much people that have this incredible ways to express life. And I believe that because we are in the community of Santo Daime and ayahuasca, and we really get it in the nature.
Sorry.
Okay. I want to share one link that might express where I live and give for you guys some of my environment here. I was thinking about also the NFT, and I am working with how to get these resources here and grounding for the people that have so much potential and not have the willingness to search. But I know so many people, and I do the asking again for you, Claire, if your presentation, your slides, only if your slides, it's very strong for me to show in these Renaissance explorers, and for my seeds in Brazil, because I also am kind of stewarding this group of community that it's trying to reach also these ways, how to collaborate, how to govern their own economy, and so much potential. And I want to keep this contact and yeah, I believe that just your contact, I will contact you.
Yeah, please do. I would of course love to connect and explore that and see how I can contribute. I've put my email in the chat thread, and if you could do the same, that way we have a way to connect with each other. But of course, that's a yes.
Thank you.
Claire, I loved your presentation, and I felt it energized my central channel, which is always good. And music is a big part of my life. I loved hearing it. I loved the media that you presented. I love the uniqueness of your voice, that it was so personalized as it connected you as an individual with the cosmos. It was kind of like a feedback loop. It was, very intimate and personal, but at the same time had that cosmic shimmer. And it was your own voice, but it also conjured other voices for me, like Alice Coltrane, Maya Beiser, Hildegard Bingen, people like that. So thank you so much. It was a really nice to experience that this morning.
Thank you. It honestly, to be able to kind of spill into this space with all of you as the container for that felt very beautiful to me. So I'm really glad that this happened.